I want to get right into talking about your career, because one of the things that's fascinating in talking with you is there were experiences very early on in your life, when you were 11 and 12, that really shaped and gave you a goal and motivation. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I started tennis at 11. I grew up in team sports, but a friend in 5th grade asked me to play, Susan Williams, and I said, "What's that?" So I'm very fortunate that Susan asked me if I wanted to play tennis. So the second time I ever picked up a racket, I knew I wanted to be #1 in the world. So that was easy peasy, you know, okay, fine. And then fast forward to 12 years old, I was just starting to play tournaments to get a ranking, and I was daydreaming. And I started thinking about my sport. And everybody wore white shoes, white socks, white clothes, played with white balls, and everybody who played was white. And I asked myself, where's everybody else? It just didn't seem right. And I'd grown up around basketball. My younger brother, Randy Moffett, played 12 years of professional baseball. I don't know if many of you are baseball fans. He was a relief pitcher, and most of the years with the San Francisco Giants. I just grew up around team sports. So I basically promised myself that day at 12 years old that I would try to really, really work to fight for equal rights and opportunities for everyone. And that was going to be the rest of my life. And tennis was just a tiny, tiny little universe. But sports are a microcosm of society. They just are. And so I just thought if I could ever change not only my sport, but help make the world a better place. And just like hearing Ken talk about purpose. I mean, I had passion and my purpose at 12, really. And it hasn't really varied too much. And I'm going to be 73 this year, because everybody's always figuring out how old, you know, they always don't know how old somebody. I'm just going to tell you, 73, November 22nd, bingo boom, that's done. Because, no, I haven't had any work done. That's what. So anyway, it's fun.
So, from a very young age, you had a goal, but you also had a purpose connected with that goal.
Yes.
So in a certain sense, what you're really saying is, early on, tennis was a means to an end of something you wanted to achieve.
I knew even at 12 that tennis was a global sport, and I knew that was an advantage. That would be, over time, that would really be a great advantage, to be able to travel and to have opportunities that most people would never have. So I'm really lucky, I'm really blessed. Got lucky with my parents. They're really great people. They were great people, and so just listening to Glenn Miller, that's what my parents used to dance to all the time.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if that was boomer music, but anyway.
I don't know. I don't think it was. That was more of a...
Well, let's jump ahead to 1968. It's the open era of tennis has just begun, so now amateurs and pros can play in tournaments together and make money. You just won Wimbledon, which must have been incredible, in 1968. Then you find out about the prize money. Tell us about that.
Well, Rod Laver won in the men's singles, and he got 2,000 pounds. You know what they're making now, right? In the millions. So I got my check, and I looked at it, and it's 750 pounds. And I'm going, what? Oh, gosh. So that's going to be another challenge. But we took care of that in 2007. Just all 4 majors that do the same prize money.
Talk about even some of your strategy back then. So, you know, the men's winner was getting 3 times the amount of the women's winner.
I'm sorry I interrupted you, but I wanted the men and women together as one association or one union. And the guys kept rejecting us. I'm like, God, it would be so much better together. Very few sports have high-profile men and women. We have an opportunity not only on the court, but off the court. You know, I'm giving my spiel. The guys say, get lost. And I kept saying, get lost. I said, okay. So we went to Plan B, and 9 of us, called the original 9, signed a $1 contract with Gladys Hellman in Houston, Texas. And that really is the birth of women's professional tennis, the way you know it today. When you see Serena Williams or a woman player getting a check or standing there, that is where it started. Okay, that is the reason it's happening. And are my pearls hitting or what? Probably.
I think you're okay.
No, I'll do something here.
So then let's move forward to 1973. You've had quite a 5 years since Wimbledon. You've alluded to some of it. You testified before Congress about Title IX, the landmark education amendment that guaranteed equal spending of federal dollars in education, including college sports. You helped found the Virginia Slim Series so that women had a place to play and get paid. And now you've been challenged in summer of 1973, I guess late summer, to play Bobby Riggs in the Battle of the Sexes.
Well, actually, Bobby had followed me around for 2 years saying, come on, we got to play, make lots of money, boom, boom, boom. And I'm going, Bobby, we just started professional tennis. I'm exhausted. I'm getting 4 hours of sleep a night. I'm trying to get sponsorship. I'm trying to help. And like, he's looking at me like I'm crazy. So finally, he asked Chris Everett, he asked all these different players, they all said no. And then Margaret Court from Australia, the great champion from Australia, said yes. She lost to him in May. It's called the Mother's Day Massacre. And as soon as she lost, I knew I had to play. So I was basically forced into it because I knew this was a very important moment. And I knew that we'd get a lot of exposure. And I knew that it was about social change. It wasn't about a tennis match. I was very clear on what it was about. So for me personally, it was a huge reason to win. And I mean, if any of you, most of you probably, I don't know, aren't old enough, but it was quite a lot of going on then as far as betting, parties, fraternities, sororities. A lot of marriages happened that day because of fraternities, sororities hanging out together, watching it. I mean, I've got great stories. People tell me the best stories. You cannot believe it.
So talk to us a little bit about the strategy going into the
strategy?
match. Yeah.
Well, I have a coaching mantra. I say that champions adjust or adapt, and pressure is a privilege. And this was a pressure moment. And I'd already decided I was going to serve volley. I was going to go to net, get it over with fast, play my game. And then walking out to the umpire's chair, I thought, no, I'm going to change that. I'm going to go to plan B. I think I'm going to have at least 5 rallies where I'm going to try to run him into the ground.
Why? What made you think that?
Well, he was older than I was. Speaking about age. And when he jumped over the net at the end, he said it all. He said, I underestimated you. And if you'd known my dad, the one thing he always told Randy and me is never, ever, ever underestimate your opponent. I mean, it's like branded on our brains, and always respect your opponent. Those are 2 things my dad and my mother both just always said. Always respect others, be kind and good to others, but never underestimate your opponent. Because you don't know what's going to happen that day when you go. It's like going to the office. You don't know what kind of day at the office you're going to have or whatever you're doing. So I think for me personally, that discipline as I grew up around my parents really helped me a lot in that match to know the right thing to do.
So relate for a moment. You made a, so to speak, on-court adjustment, a last-minute decision coming on the court. Changed your whole strategy.
Just like we do as we go through a day. I mean, we're constantly adjusting, adapting, and that's really what makes champions, I think, in life. There's 3 things I always talk about that I think are very important to have inner and outer success, and that is that relationships are everything. Relationship with yourself, with your faith, if you're spiritual or whatever, with others, extended family, friends, everyone, really, the world. I think that's huge. Relationships are everything. Another thing is to keep learning and keep learning how to learn. So for me, it's like I ask the 8-year-old, how do I work this piece of technology, or this piece of software, which is always fun. It's also a connector. I mean, you saw those kids with people older than themselves, and why are we able to do that? Because of the technology. So technology is exciting. I wish I were a lot younger sometimes when it comes to technology. The third thing is that I find people that have inner and outer success are solving, they're problem solvers. Those are the people that tend to be happy, to do well, successful, and continue to prosper. And it's fun. I mean, constantly as you go through a day, you're solving, I like to call them challenges instead of problems, but we are solving problems constantly.
So relationships, Active, ongoing learning.
Learning, got to keep learning. It's fun.
Learning, and be a problem solver.
Like even being here today, I'm learning so much from the speakers already. I'm learning from each one of you when I speak to you. So I think it's what I try to tell young people, particularly, and all of us actually, we're all young at heart, right? That's all that matters really, is that to stay alert as you go through life. Because I know a lot of people that are they're kind of half asleep, and they wonder why they're not happy. Well, wake up. Wake up, be alert. There's so many opportunities for us, and it's fun.
Well,
doesn't matter what age.
As a lifelong champion of social justice and equality, you've fought stereotypes, really from a very young age, that have limited people's potential.
Yes.
Let's talk about that for a moment in terms of stereotypes of aging that are limiting people's full potential. What's some of your sense, personally, and as you interact?
Okay, well, I'm still around tennis a lot. I help coach kids sometimes. I'm around us older ones. And I can tell you, it's not fun sometimes. My age group now are the invisible ones. Okay, now John McEnroe and those guys, Martina Navratilova, Chris Everett, they're the old ones now. Okay, they're the ones doing the broadcast. If you watch, they're the ones. That's why they're there. They're the old ones, and we're gone. I left. I wasn't, but I would have been pushed out eventually anyway. We're invisible, okay? It's amazing. And then they think of us as being slow, that we're not a good resource for things anymore. Like, we are so resourceful. When I used to play tennis as a youngster, I searched for older players. I love them. They're full of wisdom. They are funny, with great funny stories about it. They already had experience, and they had experiences that were so wonderful for me. So I never understand why young people only want to be with young people all the time. I thought it was boring when I was a teenager. I want to be around older people. I just think I like to be around everybody, but I think that they don't use this as a resource enough. Like, they would never think about me. A top player today would never think about calling me for coaching tips. Well, my generation, I think, is one of the smartest because we didn't have the money for coaching. We didn't have a lot of the resources the kids have today. So we were very independent, and we learned, and we kept learning among ourselves and helping each other. And we watched tennis, and we were a smart generation, okay? We're just smart the way we played. And also going through that transition from amateur tennis, making $14 a day, to finally getting paid. We appreciate things. I mean, we get it. I've seen different generations come and go. And it's not that magical, really. It's just that I don't understand why people don't use this more. Because we're still vibrant. I mean, I feel in some ways more vibrant because of my life experiences than I did when I was younger. So I always don't understand that. And I think we need to keep bringing all generations and all people together and different cultures. That's another thing I think it's very important is inclusion.
So giving people who are older opportunities to meaningfully engage with people of all ages and share their wisdom.
Totally.
Share their value. Well, let me ask you, let's talk specifically about you are the well-being coach for Atria Senior Living.
Oh,
well,
we don't like to use the word senior anymore.
Okay.
I agree with Ken.
Atria Living.
No, we've talked about it.
All right.
No, Atria people we're talking about. You'll see.
All right. Okay.
No, we're
So,
like.
I won't steal their thunder.
No, but I have so much fun going to different Atrias and talking with people and listening to them. They are hilarious. And they have so much to offer still. It's like, anyway,
what themes resonate with them? As you talk to them, what do you find they really resonate to as their coach on well-being?
First of all, there's the ones that seem happiest are the most active. They still like to go to the theater or go shopping or go get their hair done. I don't care. They love to still read. They still love to discuss politics. Nothing's really changed too much. We just look different. But in our hearts and we're going at it. So I don't see a difference. I think as they get really older, like when they're like in their 90s, I've talked to people like that. They're a little slower, but their brains aren't slow. I mean, their brains are still going like it depends. I mean, my parents both got Alzheimer's, so I've been through that with them before they passed away. So I have great empathy and understanding of children who have to take care of their parents. But when I'm at Atria, I have fun. First of all, my partner and my partner is South African, Ilana, And her mother, we brought her mother from South Africa, and we had to find a place for her. And we searched all over New York City. We live in New York City, Upper West Side. And every time we'd go into a place, first of all, it wasn't clean. It was dry. I'm not, I'm out of here. And then I just stopped. Everyone was waiting for them to die. And I'm like, what? And then we walked into Atria on 86th, and this was different. First of all, it's really clean, really hospitable. The people sat with us. You can tell that the residents are happy. I went and talked to some of them and listened to them. Before we're going to let Ruth, was her name, that we'd let her live there. And she ended up absolutely loving it. First of all, the food's great. Food was great. I think that's major, the nutrition, and so I love the food. And then the people are so nice. It's about relationships again. It's about looking at them, listening to them, caring. And then they go to, they offer so many opportunities. And they're big on the exercise, like walking around the blocks or going down to Riverside Park. I mean, you get to go to the theater. They take you shopping. If you want to do something, make sure you get to a doctor's appointment. All these things add up. And then after Lana's mom died, actually Lana and I lived in an Atria. We lived at 86 for about 5 months. So I really personally experienced, and here's the difference. It's always about people.
What was the decision? I mean, I'm sure you could have lived a lot of other places.
Well, we're getting our place renovated. And I said, let's go to Atria. I like it there. And Ruth has just passed away. And I said to Lana, is that going to bother you to be around it, or is it going to make you actually feel better? She says, actually, I think it'll make me feel better. It'll help me in my transition, and we got to wait for the apartment anyway. So I said, are you sure? Because we're actually going to stay in the apartment that Ruth was in. And I said, is that going to help or hurt? And she says, actually, I would love it. So it actually helped her transition. But it was, then I got even more firsthand just being there. But I always sit back and watch others and watch not just how they treat me, because sometimes they treat me differently, and I don't like that. And they treat everyone really well, and also learning about each one, what they like. That's major, listening to them and really know, and then coming up with ideas for them that they'll enjoy more, like writing poetry, or they'll say, oh, I like to write. Well, have you ever thought about writing a poem? Just like you were mentioning earlier. So those are the kinds of things. They have a saying every day. There's constant reinforcement for well-being, basically, and what's going to make them happy. So I personally, that's the kind of place I would want to live, because it's easy, it's fun, and the people are caring. Caring.
Keep learning, keep active.
Yep. Acts of kindness are important.
Let me ask one last question that I can't resist. So I'm going to go back to your match with Bobby Riggs. So
guys always want to talk about this match.
All right. 30,000 people at the Houston Astrodome. 90 million people watched it. As you look back on it now, what do you think the match meant? How has it changed in your mind over time, the significance, the sort of symbolism of that match?
Well, every day since that match, someone brings it up. So you took care of today. Thank you. And everyone comes up to me to tell me a lot of people come up to tell me their story. And it's interesting how it affected men and women. Women come up to me and they kind of go get them, and they said it really changed them in asking for what they want and need. Girls are never taught to ask for what we want and need. And we're always saying sorry. Oh, sorry, I'm not any good or whatever. Stop it. So for the women, it was a breakthrough. A lot of them, for the first time, asked for a raise at work. Because I'd gone to a newspaper in Philadelphia, and they all stood up and clapped, but they couldn't wait to tell me, we've been waiting 10 years to have the courage to ask for a raise. I said, well, did you? And they said, yes, we did it. And I said, more importantly, did you get it? And they said, yes. And we've been waiting. I said, great. So those are the kinds of stories I hear. Now the men come up, and they actually cry more than the women, by the way. They have many more tears. They'll come up to me, and they're really usually very quiet. They'll say, I was young when I watched that match. And now I have daughters, or granddaughters, because now more years have gone by. And they'll say it changed my life. It changed my life how I raised my son and my daughter. I want equal opportunity for both my sons and my daughters. It just changed how I look at the world and how I look at girls and how I look at women. And President Obama told me that same story. He was 12 years old when he saw it.
Well,
And now he has 2 girls. And now, how many do you have?
3.
I just found that out today. Bob's got 3 girls. Whoa.
And 2 of them played college sports. So
That's great.
Thank you, Billie.
Well, thank you so much.
On behalf of all of us, thank you for joining
Thank you.
us today.